Hey guys, welcome back to another sports stuff video. Today we're talking about the Atlanta Falcons and their offseason plan to get this roster in the right direction, what they were trying to do this season, make a playoff push, and genuinely try and go deep in the playoffs. So you guys do enjoy, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified when I post next. Let's get into this video of the Atlanta Falcons. So, offseason plan, let's start it off with cuts and or trades. They had $11 million in negative cap space, so you got a little bit of room that we need to work with to open up this team and the possibilities of furthering their expectations. First off, I'm going to be cutting or trading Kirk Cousins. Last year had 3,500 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. He had a rough second half of the season. He was benched for Penix the last about month and a half of the season. Atlanta said they are willing to keep him on the roster, but I just don't see him staying as Kirk wants to start somewhere. Contract could be too large to trade. You couldn't, it's a very massive deal. I think it's like $40 million a year is what it averages out to. Not only the next year is guaranteed, only the 2025 to 2026 season is guaranteed. The other 2 years are not guaranteed, so you can cut him. Next, in 2026, began the league year, you can cut Kirk Cousins. But I just don't see him staying on the roster. I think either it's going to be a cut or a trade. I decided to trade him to Cleveland. Obviously, when it comes to the cut, everyone is going to be saying that if he gets cut, he's going to Cleveland. So I think the only real trade partner for Kirk Cousins would be the Cleveland Browns. So Cleveland, knowing that, only has to give up 2 picks, 2 6th-round picks, number 192 and 200 overall. And I think Atlanta's going to have to eat some of the cap as well. But if they do not, the Browns can eat the 27.5. But I just think that if Cleveland's going to get Kirk Cousins, they got to split that down the middle. What is that? 13-13 each. So the Browns take on 13, the Falcons keep 13 of the cap space. I just think that's fair, and that's how you're going to be able to move off Kirk Cousins and get 2 6th-round picks. So Kirk goes to start somewhere. The Falcons get some draft capital over cutting him. I think that's something that they would do. Next, we're going to cut David Onyemata. Last season had 31 tackles, 3 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 25 run stops, and 19 pressures. He was a solid 3-4 defensive end. I definitely think you can get younger, though, at the position. Seeing how this is one of the worst D-lines last year, I'm ready to move off all the larger contracts to get better. Because if you were part of the worst defensive line last year and you're on a multi-year large contract, you're out of here. Like, you're not good enough. You save a lot of money cutting him. Plus, you drafted Ruke Ahoror. I don't know how to say his last name. I struggled last year during the draft process. You drafted Ruke to replace him last year. So let's start the rookie, right? You need better run defense in the middle. Ruke was a run specialist, 3-4 defensive end. So we're going to start Ruke next year and cut David Onyemata to save $10.5 million against the cap this season. Then some restructuring we'll be doing is guard Chris Lindstrom. You saved $10 million restructuring him. That's probably one of the dudes that can retire Falcon. Jesse Bates, restructure him for 6.3. You're not going to be cutting Jesse Bates anytime soon. He had a great year. And Jake Matthews, the longtime left tackle of this franchise, $7 million. You open up $23 million. Bringing the total number, you can start the re-signings in free agency at $50 million. So first off, I'm going to be re-signing Drew Dalman. Drew Dalman had a 79 PFF grade, 67 pass blocking, 80 run blocking. He was a great anchor in the middle. If you guys don't remember last year, I think he's currently on the Houston Texans. Yeah, I thought he was a start at center. But then Drew Dalman got drafted and took over. And just never really let go of that starting job once he started. He's an elite run blocker. He did let up 3 sacks in pass pro. But I think if he goes to a team that doesn't have a statue in Kirk Cousins, who, again, with Kirk Cousins, I think a lot of the issue is the confidence he has in that front step. In that leg that he tore his ACL, that's his plant foot. That's where you get all the torque and the turn for your passes. I think he doesn't have any confidence in it. So Drew Dalman, yes, did let up 3 sacks, but I'm going to blame Kirk Cousins partially for that. But when it comes to run blocking, Drew Dalman is one of the best run blockers in the league at center, and is still, I believe, only 26 years old. So I give him a 4-year, $40.5 million deal, $28.5 million guaranteed at 70% guaranteed, averages out to about $10.5 million a year. That's something you can't pass up. You can't pass that up to keep your guy that you drafted and developed. The next, we'll be re-signing Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore, he unfortunately injured his knee in training camp. I believe it was not an Achilles. It was a tendon in his knee that he apparently tore. They traded for him before the season, so he obviously wanted to be that wide receiver 2 next to Drake London. This unfortunately got hurt right before. A former 2nd-round pick. His career never really turned around in Arizona, so they traded for him. and they definitely had a hole at wide receiver too once he went down with injury. So I think you can bring him back for, $2 million deal. I think he'd become a really good slot receiver for this team, and another wide receiver that Michael Penix can rely on. 1 year, $2 million. Then going into free agency, you have $41 million. That's still a lot of money you can do some damage with to make this team viable and really turn it around. So starting off, I'm going with Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack had 24 tackles, 7 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 23 run stops, and 49 pressures last year. He's still a great starting pass rusher. He proved it last year that age is not stopping him or slowing him down. He gets to the quarterback even at that age. I do think this is a pivot from potential Myles Garrett trade. I just don't think Atlanta has the trade assets, and they don't have the guys that they're willing to trade away that are worth for the Browns to even call them and accept the trade, right? I think like a Kyle Pitts and multiple draft picks would be the package, and I just don't see that happening, right? This is a step one to fixing the defensive line. Obviously, you have Ruke to be the rookie, I guess a second-year player. You have a bunch of guys you've drafted in the last couple of years. Khalil Mack is one veteran that I would sign day one to get on the defensive line to be that 3-4 outside linebacker. 1 year, $13 million guaranteed, $13 million fully guaranteed. Obviously Khalil Mack wants to win a Super Bowl, so maybe he does not want to go to one of these kind of teams that are trying to make the playoffs. He wants to go to a Super Bowl contender, and I think Khalil Mack is going to be worth it. I think if you want to get him on this team, you have to overpay a little bit. I think $10 million is more we're going to get Khalil Mack if you're a Super Bowl contender. So $13 million fully guaranteed is how you can get Khalil Mack this time with the Atlanta Falcons. Next is going to be Charles Omenihu. 4 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, 3 run stops, and 12 pressures with the Kansas City Chiefs. He only played in the final 6 games post-recovery from his ACL. He showed to still have some juice in him. He's only 28 years old, so obviously he's bounced back really well in the middle of his prime. And again, he has been a very good pass rusher for the Kansas City Chiefs since they traded for him. He slots in at a starting 3-4 defensive end. So you have Ruke and Charles Omenihu opposite of each other at 3-4 defensive end. And he brings pass rushing over run defending, which again, this defensive line struggled heavily with. So if you can have a defensive line where you have Khalil Mack, Charles Omenihu, Grady Jarrett, Ruke, and then Braylon Trice, that is a good mixture of veterans who day one can elevate the defensive line and young guys that can boost the defensive line for the future. I gave him a 2-year, $13.5 million deal, $8.5 million guaranteed at 63%. The Kansas City Chiefs don't have any money. They're definitely not going to put Charles Omenihu as a priority over some of the other guys that are free agents. So I think Charles Omenihu coming to Atlanta makes a lot of sense. Next, we got Jonathan Jones, a veteran corner from the New England Patriots. He had 50 tackles, 0 interceptions, 0 forced fumbles, 14 run stops, and 3 pass breakups last year. A competent starting outside corner with lots and lots of experience, including multiple Super Bowls. He's a 2-time Super Bowl winner. He started both those games as well. He wasn't just some random guy on the roster. He was a starting corner, outside corner on those Super Bowl teams. So he has lots of playoff experience for this young team. I think he'd be a really good mentor for the secondary. That, again, doesn't have a lot of, deep playoff push experience. I think Jonathan Jones can bring that. 1 year, 2.5 fully guaranteed to get this veteran in the room. Then finally, I'm going to be bringing back Justin Simmons. I forgot to bring him into the re-signings. But Justin Simmons last year had 55 tackles, 2 interceptions, 17 run stops, and 4 pass breakups for the Falcons. He's still a great starting free safety. To me, this is the best duo in the league with Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates. Great deep ball run defender. Again, not the best run defender at this point of his career, but when it comes to ball hawking free safety, there's not many guys you can say are better than Justin Simmons. Even at his 31 age, he's still one of the best guys. He was only cut from Denver due to cap casualty, and the Falcons benefited off that. So give him a 1 year, $7 million fully guaranteed deal to get him back on this team. And next year, with a weaker safety class in free agency, he can get more money. Going to the draft, you have $18 million. Again, I always say I try to have about $9 to $10 million in cap space before the draft to sign all your draft picks. So you still have about $8 to $9 million in cap space. If you want to go out and get another wide receiver next to Drake London, go out and get another linebacker or something, you can still go and do that. But again, I only do mock signings of guys that I think are high starters or high rotation players. So that's what I decided to do. Leave $9 million for them to mess around with. And here's what I do in the drafts. In the draft at number 15, I do grab Mykel Williams from Georgia at number 15. Mykel Williams is a 3-4 outside linebacker. I think him sitting behind Khalil Mack, or even him and Braylon Trice coming off an injury, rotate out the other 3-4 outside linebacker role. I think that'd be really good for them, Mykel Williams is a great run defender. He can grow as a pass rusher in Atlanta. Keep the Georgia talent in Atlanta as a premium position. And I don't think they end up getting Myles Garrett. So I think a mixture of Mykel Williams, Khalil Mack, and Braylon Trice coming back from his season-ending torn ACL before the season started last year. I think that is something that you could believe in more with a high-end, Michael Williams type of player who definitely is not a Abdul Carter, but I think Michael Williams is one of the best run defending edges in this class. You get him at 15, you keep him in state, you keep him, he already plays in the building, so you can keep him in building. I think that'd be really good. I agree with that A grade. I 100% agree with that. Then Jaden Higgins at 46, one of my guys in the second round. Great wide receiver too, day one. I think he starts opposite Drake London immediately. Was one of the best deep threats in 2023, averaging almost 19 yards a catch. And this past year, he turned to a number one wide receiver. He flourished with his route running. He's an amazing red zone route runner and jump ball guy. He's 6'4". Again, runs amazing routes. And then in the red zone, runs even better, crisper routes. Easier cuts that are swifter to get the defenders, even as an inch of separation. And you throw a jump ball, boom, he gets it. Then at number 116, no third round pick. So at 116, Noel Williams. He had 7 interceptions last year. Ball hawking corner at 6'1". Solid speed. This defense class is very deep, so I was willing to wait for a corner. But grab a number one guy next to AJ Terrell. I don't think Noel Williams would overplay AJ Terrell, but I think those two will be ball hawking corners because we know Terrell's already one of the best pure ball hawkers when it comes to creating turnovers. I think Noel Williams can be the guy opposite of him that does the exact same thing. Then at number 200, grabbing Miles Frazier, a long-time starting right guard for LSU. Gives you flexibility interior, a developmental piece that maybe due to injury can start and you'd feel comfortable with. Then at 205, grabbing Kareem Reed, a run-stopping linebacker. He's one of my day 3 linebacker gems in this class. Again, this defensive class is so deep, so I was willing to let guys like Jack Kaiser and Kobe King go, knowing I get a run defender in Kareem Reed. Can play in rotation day 1 in the thin linebacker room. Because this linebacker room is pretty thin. Kareem Reed, I think, has a role day 1. Then I decided to trade back to get a couple more draft picks. So at 244, grabbing Tonka Hemingway, a pass rushing D tackle, another premium position that has holes in this roster for late round rookies that maybe come in and generate value day 1. But at worst, you have a guy who can develop and maybe on goal line situations he can play. But I do think day 1 there is a role for Tonka Hemingway to be a pass rushing D tackle. Like I wouldn't be shocked if he gets 100 to 200 snaps in his rookie season. Then number 255, grabbing David Gabenda from Texas. Again, one of those linebackers I really like. He only allowed a 45% passer rating when he was being passed against. He's a solid coverage linebacker. He shoots gaps when he's needed in blitzing situations. But for me, I'm going to let him sit in coverage, and I'm going to see what he can do. Again, 7th round pick. Really don't think he's going to play much. But for a thin linebacking room, I think David Gabenda actually getting minutes would not be shocking. But yes, that is my mock draft. You get your edge rusher, you get a wide receiver 2, a cornerback 2, and lots of depth and role players. In the free agency, you get guys who immediately can help you win next year in a weak NFC South. You retain young guys that have really helped you. And then you trade Kirk Cousins, get that money off your books, and get some picks back. And David Onyemata to get rid of that $10.5 million. But if you guys enjoy it, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you would do different in this offseason rebuild. Would you not trade Kirk Cousins? Would you just cut him? Would you go for a different player in the first round? Maybe you go and spend all your money on one player instead of filling out the roster like I did. Let me know what you would do. Again, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be notified when I post next. And I'll see you guys later. Peace and bye.